Is Delaware the best place on earth to be a dentist? This is Dr. Nacho Goodman with Dane Stokes, Chief People Officer of the REM team, and one of the nicest guys I know. We both live here in Philadelphia. And we're going to share about how his team helps associates grow, thrive, what they're building in Delaware. We'll talk a little bit about Delaware dentistry and what makes it, as my grandmother used to say about me, Dane, so very, very, very special. So Dane, thanks for joining me. Just catch our audience up. I love your title, Chief People Officer. Tell us a little bit about your day-to-day as a non-dentist. So you're a normal person. You're a normal person, but you've kind of been infected by dentistry. So I don't know if normal might, but you're not a dentist, but you're helping dentists live their dream. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be on with you. So I guess, and maybe we'll get into a little bit more about the history of the REM team later on, but I am not a dentist. You often admit that early on in many of my phone calls because I do spend a lot of my time talking to dentists. Yeah. My job, Chief People Officer, as you say, I wear another hat, which is Chief Financial Officer for our organization that oversees 7 dental and specialty practices in the state of Delaware, and we'll talk a lot more about that, I hope. But day to day, I'm overseeing financials and operations for the business, but where I get to use the right side of my brain a lot is talking to dentists and telling them a lot about why they should come practice with us in Delaware for a lot of reasons that I know we'll get into.
Yeah, I love the concept of team. I'm a failed NBA superstar. I didn't make it, but I love teams. And I wish dentists worked more as a team. My dentist contacts and goes, how many practices do you guys have in your group in Delaware?
Yep. So we have 4 GPs that we have, and they're a variety of sizes, and then 3 specialty practices. So of those, we have 21 doctors that work across that portfolio of companies.
So you got 21 dentists on your team. You're getting to football team size, right?
Yep.
You're beyond the basketball team bench. So you've been part of Dentist Job Connect and what we do. You've utilized Dentist Job Connect to attract associates to you guys. You can text job to 215-798-9897 to connect with Dane and his team. My team can drop this into the live. This might seem overly simplistic for someone who works in your world, but I'm trying to teach our audience. Why do you guys need 21 dentists? And what are some of the challenges of managing 21 dentists? Maybe some things are in your control and out of your control. People moving, people might leave, people need to come in. Just tell us a little broad picture about the management of 21 dentists.
Yeah, I think from a management standpoint, it actually tends to work out pretty well. So across our portfolio of companies, we have a variety of sizes. Our largest practice has 5 full-time doc and 2 part-time docs that work there. So that's a big organization, 19 op practice. A lot of patients that are getting healthy in that practice every day. And then we've got a couple of smaller practices. We really like these 2 doc practices where you get peer-to-peer mentorship every single day.
Yeah.
And for us, our visionary and my partner in REM, Dr. Ryan Robinson, who you know very well, building teams and the collaboration is kind of what we thrive on, right? I think that's one of the first questions that I'm often asking candidates about. What are your goals? And if they say mentorship and collaboration, check box 1.
Yeah, I love that. Ryan's one of my favorite dentist and people for this reason. I did exist before Dental Nacho. Some people think I was just born out of a nacho cabbage patch at 39 years old. But in 2014, I taught an implant course, met Ryan for the first time, gave my presentation on how to talk to patients about implants, what happens if you do nothing, the 9 words to millions of dollars in more patient-centered care. And I will never forget this. Ryan came back and was like, my team is like, Ryan, you're doing such a good job getting people to accept treatment. He's like, what happened to you? And he said, I just say what Paul told me to say. And I just love that. I will never forget that. And he's grown this organization. Now let's talk a little about the REM team. What does REM stand for?
Sure. So REM is a kind of a play on words here. So Dr. Robinson has transitioned all of his clinical time over to specialty and sleep, TMJ, and pain. So REM is the phase of sleep where you come up with your creative solutions. So REM team really is a solutions-driven team for dental practices. And you would appreciate this, like any great entrepreneurial venture, it's rooted out of what's a problem that we have today. So we were buying practices, we had kind of a semi-structure in place, and then said, hey, we're at a point now where from an organizational perspective, we really need to organize so we can scale and leverage the benefits that we have. So Actually, January of last year is when REM created as a formal organization. It operated for many years informally before that, but we kind of took out administrative services and centralized them so that the people performing these services for the practices they support are the masters of that domain.
That's
And then
awesome.
we can scale and leverage that from a cost benefit analysis. It works for the practice owners. But really what REM brings is a comprehensive solution. So we're looking at all phases of the business every single day. And then we're in those practices. All of our practices are in Delaware except for one, which is up in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, right on the main line, right outside of Philadelphia. So we have a close.
I kind of say this thing about ABC, always be connecting, right?
Yep.
Showing up at things. The dentist who works at the Bryn Mawr
Yep.
location, how did you guys meet that amazing dentist, Dr.
Yeah,
Carter?
and no, I'm really glad you asked that. So a course that you and Ryan hosted
Yeah.
jointly on sleep apnea, right? And I don't have her permission, but she'll forgive me. Dr. Jacobs up there, awesome provider that opened our second location for pain and sleep.
Usually dentists are fine if you say compliments about them. So they're
Yeah.
usually, and I mean, she's awesome. She came to Philadelphia, met me, she got so connected, showed up at things. Really, she's just such a fun person. So back to the REM, this might, because you live this every day, Dane. I want to extract it from you, like the movie Philadelphia, explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old. What are the things you take care of, whether it's in your own practice or for other teams? Like you say, hey, the REM team will help you with these things. Give me a few kind of specific things that you guys help with.
Yeah, I think primarily our focus is on getting the people things right. So first, that means taking care of the patients. And our clinical director and Dr. Robinson specifically focus on comprehensive total health, right? Any provider in our practice will tell you our philosophy. We believe our patients deserve to know the truth so they can make smart decisions about their health. Then it's the people thing about the team. That starts with the doctors, but the assistants, the hygienists, the front desk and business team, investing in them, training them on the best way to run practices efficiently, but really care about the patient and make it a great patient experience. So I think that's where we focus. We're a very people-driven organization in terms of how we get success. Yeah, we have playbooks like a lot of other organizations that do this, but I think where we really pride ourselves is in how much we focus on the people and the people delivering that in the practice.
I love that. That's a great message. As someone, as the chief people officer, but you also mentioned you deal with financial stuff. What are some things that like maybe dentists either don't pay enough attention to on the financial part, or should pay more attention to, or don't realize this is leaking out? It could be from insurance billing. It could be from supply expense. I mean, you live this every day. I'm just kind of curious to learn what you think.
Yeah, it's case to case, obviously. I think where we really try to drive dentist attention and team member attention is how do you do comprehensive healthcare? And typically that results in top line revenue type growth, right? There's always opportunities to look at your expenses. What I always say is spend responsibly. And I'm the one that sets budgets for organizations, but I always try to temper that with, these budgets aren't meant to be like punitive. They're meant to control the spend so that we can continue.
My team would like you hear you say that because they think I'm what's the word, terrible with budgets. Here's the thing with budgets for me. They're great to create a framework for success, but for me, and maybe Ryan thinks this way, I have companies that I love that sponsor Dental Nachos. And I go, I have this event in August for like 20 practice owners that we're going to meet. And you like sell stuff to practice owners. This is your audience. And they go, our budget's set for the year. I go, it's January. Is there any room for a good idea in the budget? So I'm on both sides. I've tried harder in my own organization to do that, but budget should come with opportunities for new ideas too. Because I actually don't think it makes sense to set something for 12 months and not acknowledge that new things could come into the organization that might be a good idea.
I agree. We tend to evaluate things quarterly anyway, specifically when we set goals for everything, right? How we're achieving revenue growth, how we're looking at different metrics in the organization, all the way down to budget.
I think people should whether you're a dental office, Dentist Job Connect, the REM team, a giant company that sponsors me, you should just have a line for good new ideas money, right? Maybe it's $5,000 and you don't go over it, but it just gives you the opportunity to add things in. So tell me next, Dane, if someone wants to work with the REM team and they're just like, hey, this resonates with me, I would love to find out more about it. I'm crying inside too much, but I'm successful. before you answer that, do you see dentists that appear very successful and are successful, let's say financially, but it's just way too stressful for them? Just their day-to-day is just too stressful.
Yes, all the time. All the time. I mean, and specifically, we're very concentrated in Delaware currently. So in Delaware, you can be successful in spite of yourself financially.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of that is about reducing stress. I mean, that's one of the first days that we spend on site with our clients is one-on-one interviews with the team members at all levels of the organization to understand where their stress points are in a day-to-day basis. So that's very much where we focus a lot of our attention early on. We want to integrate into the team, understand the stress points, and help them overcome their stress points.
Yeah, because even Jalen Hurts playing in the Super Bowl next week, it's way more stressful than we think. We think, oh, being an NFL quarterback playing the Super Bowl, but he's worried about problems, failures, plays, this. And if you actually sat and asked him, he'd say, yes, this is my dream, and it's also very stressful. This is my dream, and it's also keeping me up at night. This is my dream, and I'm also worried about this, which is normal, right? Which is normal. But if you don't get help for that, you can have a career that's baked, as a Nacho term, in misery for yourself.
It's absolutely true. I mean, I know at least one doc that we have right now would attest to that very much so. And I think the other proof of that is a lot of how we acquire new dental practices is take over from a retiring doc. And they often say, I'll stay on for 6 months part-time to help you transition patients and staff. And then 3-4 years later, they're still working in the business because they're enjoying it so much. Yeah. So that's a testament in and of itself as to taking the stress off the plate. A lot of dentists love to do dentistry. That's what we want to give them the opportunity to do. Yeah,
I love it. As we wrap up, if someone's like, hey, I want to do a consult with you guys, I want to jump on a Zoom with you guys, I want to see what you do, how would they reach out to you? And what does that that first step look like? Is it a complimentary call? Do you send them a survey? Tell our audience about that.
Yeah, no, I think they can either reach out directly to me or check out our website. It's theremteam.com. And then my email is dane@theremteam.com. So DANE@theremteam.com. Typically it would be that we would do a discovery call with any new client to see. And then I think the other big part of this too is doctors that want to come practice, even as associates, if not looking for things as much as like Dr. Jacobs, who's now a partner in our portfolio, you know, those opportunities are there as well. And it's the same, right? Go to the website, there's a form there. I would say for your audience, they can reach out directly to me and we will, you know, quickly get them into the right queue here to talk about them and see if there's an opportunity.
Awesome. I love that. My team will drop that in the comments. As we have a few minutes left, I kind of have a let's be real type of thing. So we live in Philadelphia. Let's be real. We have world-class restaurants all around our city. Yep. We have more world-class restaurants in one block than some people have in an entire state, right? So the reality is we're very lucky. Also, the reality is there's challenges living in Philadelphia. There's difficulties, there's expenses. If we just help our audience understand this, and really not with, I use this new, you can use this, Dane and your team. This is an observation, not a judgment, okay? This is not, hey, I'm making an observation, I'm not a judgment. It's gonna come off like a judgment, but it's really an observation. There seems to be a really awesome financial opportunity in Delaware for dentists because, the state board is required to be taking a licensed patients. How do you guys help people pass the state board? And tell me a little bit about the Delaware Dental kind of opportunities and rewards.
Yeah, Delaware Dental Pathway, as we call it. I mean, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. That's often something that comes up early on when I'm talking to doctors, whether they're graduating from school or, you know, their GPR. So, you know, Dr. Robinson has been doing this for a long time. I think over 15 candidates he's helped personally mentor through the board exam. So we kind of have a process to this. I actually just had a meeting earlier this week with a doctor that will be taking the June board exam here in Delaware. So we help all these doctors, you know, find patients for the exam. Typically you need probably 5 or 6 patients between primary and backups for the exam. So we help them screen for them in our practices. We typically set up 1 or 2 screening days where they're coming down, they're taking x-rays, they're doing a lot of the charting requirements that are out there. And then we're often providing them with assistance from one of our practices.
Awesome.
And typically these assistants have been through this board exam 5, 6, 7 times themselves.
Yeah, they know that they know the drill
with the process.
We don't have time for me to totally tell you all my thoughts on this, but I will say that you're doing an awesome thing with this because you're creating opportunities, because there are dentists that I said, be a dentist in Delaware. It's a really great opportunity. You can live in Philadelphia, and they've done it. And they said, Paul, it's one of the best things I've ever done.
Yep. And I live in Philadelphia and commute down there 4 or
Yeah.
5 days a week. It's really, I grew up in Delaware, so that's where my heart is. And I used to think Philly was so far away. You know, now I drive
it's
it.
just,
Yep.
well, thanks, Dane. People can reach out to the remteam.com. You're awesome. Can't wait to see you at our next event. Nacho team, check out all the awesome things that they're doing. And like Ryan Robinson says, just listen to Paul.
I agree.
Thanks so much,
Paul.
Dane.
Take care.